Hi friends, and welcome back into my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So today I do have some updates on my personal things and a few things that came in the mail, and then we'll move on to customer quilts. So I have been working on Hometown Holiday Sampler. Are you stitching along with this one? So last week you saw my time lapse of starching my fabrics, and so as they say, the jury is still out on that. I could not believe how much starch it took. Now, so I started out with a name brand of starch and used a 20-ounce can. I got through quite a bit of fabric with that, but then I asked my husband to stop and pick up some other. He was not near a large store, so he stopped at a dollar store and picked up some starch from there. And I have to say, I was not as pleased with the dollar store starch. So the cans were smaller, and I felt like I could not get all of the starch out of the cans, and so like I could still feel that there was some in there, but I was not getting anything out of the spray. So I went through a super number of dollar store cans of that. So then I got through almost everything except for the final like 6 yards or whatever it is of the background fabric. It was a huge amount. I don't know, I can't even find out. 7.5 yards of background fabric. It was a huge amount. And I only got part of that starched, and so I had to wait until I got some more. My husband was able to pick me up some more. We live out in the country, so I don't get to town very often. I mean, I do get to town, but he's in town every day. So he stopped and got me some more of the name brand, got me several bottles of those, and I didn't go through all of those, but I got things starched. Now, my problem was, I think because I stopped and started, I'm not real sure on that last bit. I don't know. Can you overstarch? Can you understarch? I don't know. Some of my pieces feel a little stiffer than others. And I just don't know. I even feel like I did have a little bit of bleeding from my reds onto that large amount of the background fabric, but I think that's because I stopped when I ran out of starch and I left them piled on top of each other, thinking that when I get the new stuff back, then I'll finish up, which wasn't until the next day. So I'm afraid I got a little bit of bleeding, not splotchy. It's more like it just tinted it a little red, or maybe it's just that background fabric has a little more of a pinky tint to it. That could be it. And just my first time starching, so everything feels new to me. So I have begun piecing it. So once I let it air dry, I was also surprised how fast it dried. I thought it would take much longer. So I did allow it to air dry, and then I have not ironed or pressed all of the fabric since it's been starched. What I've done is pulled out the piece that I need. I've pressed that one, cut off what I needed for the block I was working on, and then folded it up nicely and put it back into the box that the kit came in. So I can show you some of the pieces. Like I said, I don't have all of it ironed back out, but just pieces that I have used. So this blue piece, this is probably a 1/2 yard or so, and it does feel pretty stiff. Some other pieces didn't feel quite so much, but I like the crispness of it. That's been fine. You know, the fraying, I guess you can still see it's fraying a little bit, so I don't know that it helped with that too much. It does not stretch, so that could be good in doing these small blocks, but so I don't know. I don't know yet whether it's worth the time to do all the starching, because that did take a long time. The extra expense of it, I haven't quite decided yet. But the pieces, they did turn out nice. I think I did an okay job. I did have some comments after the last video that you could buy liquid starch and do it that way, but I've also heard that that's no longer being sold, so I haven't looked in my local store to even see if that's available, but perhaps I could dunk it in a solution and then hang it up to dry. Maybe that would give it a more consistent. I'm just not sure I was real consistent in my spraying. I tried to do it. I watched the Lisa Bonjean tutorial, and I tried to do it where she said, you know, you on the back side so that you could see that it was all done. I did notice it doesn't really, like if I would do 2 layers, if it was like a yard of something, I would just leave it folded. And I did find that you had to flip it over because it doesn't soak all the way through to that second layer. So I will show you some of the blocks that I've done so far. I do like how the piecing is going. So I'm just going to have to do more of the quilt to see whether it's really worth the beginning starching. I'm one of those, I'm pretty impatient. And so I like things to move. And so this was adding that extra step in that I have to see whether it's worth it or not, to see whether I have to go through the whole process of making the quilt and piecing it and seeing if my end result is worth the time at the beginning of that. So the first block in the Hometown Holiday Sampler is RR. Should I say that? I guess I can show you this part. The first block are the Twinkle Holiday Star blocks, and they are these little blocks here. There are 15 of them, and in the pattern they do give you the specific fabrics to use, just like Lori's other patterns do. She tells you the exact SKU, and so some of these, because these are small blocks, the final block is only 3.5 inches, so some of these squares are very, very tiny. So like if I only needed a 1.5 inch square on the very center, I was taking that fabric, I just had it out here a second ago, and I pressed it and I cut 1.5 inch strip off and I kept it folded up inside of that and put back in my box, and I used that one little square in here. Now granted, if it was used, so I did a little bit more. I have to be nice because I did a little bit more, because then this block used that same yellow, and so I needed 4 more of those. So I did look at the SKUs, and I would pull out that fabric that I needed, and I would see how many of those I wanted, or how many of those I needed, because some of the blocks use a multiple number of the same fabrics. So 15 were needed total, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I thought I had 12, so I must have left one upstairs on my sewing table. So I have 11 of them finished. These are so cute. Now, one thing I have to say about starching is I do feel that my blocks are lying flatter. Did I say that right? Lying. They are lying flatter. I have to think about it. You lay something down, you lie on the bed. Okay, they are lying flatter. So I do feel that they are. And they're not stretching a lot when I piece them together. I did trim these up at the end because they were a little awkward. Didn't have to trim a whole lot, but just I want to make sure that I have that good 3.5 inch square there. So there's 4 of them. They're so, so cute. These are scattered throughout the quilt. And so they're not all right together. They're scattered throughout the wording. So there's 4 more. And the last 3. So if you see any mistakes, let me know, because it's real easy to turn some of those triangles, those half square triangles. Now I did start out with my half square triangles. Let me show you on the back of this. So the half square triangle blocks. When I started out, I'd stitch down the diagonal, and then I cut one edge of it off on one side, and then I was pressing my seams open. And the more I did, they seemed a little, if I didn't sew an exact diagonal line, you know, how many of us are perfect, right? If I didn't stitch an exact diagonal line, then when I pressed that seam open, my block was a little off. And so I went back to doing it the way I learned 20 years ago from Mary Ellen Hopkins. I know this is where I learned it from. 20 years ago is not to cut away that backing part until you fold over. So this would be pressing to one side, because what I did instead, and I should have brought a block, and maybe I will next time, but these two are stacked on top of each other. I did my diagonal seam, and instead of cutting that away, I folded the top one over to match the outside corner, because then I know it's square. So even if I didn't stitch my diagonal line exactly, when I press it, I press to that corner of the backing fabric, the piece that's underneath, and then I know that is square. Once I get a good press, then I can trim away those back pieces that aren't needed on there. And I felt like that gave me a lot better of my small little piece. So, so let me see, because I pressed open for a while, and then the ones that I started doing towards the end, you can see these half square triangles, the back side, they're actually pressed to the darker side. And I felt like that was giving me a better squareness to my small blocks. So I don't mind pressing open, you know. Now you can tell I pressed all my other seams open, even on the one that I just showed you. I did my other seams open, but when I was doing those half square triangles, I did press those to one side, because I pressed the top piece back to match the bottom piece so that I knew it was exactly square in that corner. So 15 of those total. I have 11 done. I really think I have 12 done. There's one missing upstairs somewhere. And then that was week 1, and then I will go on to the glitter holiday and the cozy holiday star blocks. So all of these star blocks that you see interspersed throughout the lettering, that's what we're doing first. So there's not as many of those, because those are larger stars, but there's quite a few of these smaller ones, because they are just scattered here and there throughout the quilt. So fun. So next week I'll have more updates. I plan on having the rest of those done. They went really quick, actually. And then I'm trying to get caught up into the current week. And there's not that many blocks each week. It looks like a lot of stitching, but really there's only 2 or 3. Besides that initial one, there's really only 2 or 3 blocks per week, or 2 different kinds of blocks per week. So I think I can get caught up on that, and I can let you know how I'm enjoying the starch. So I have some happy mail, and let me grab that and share that with you. So I had a client send some quilts in to be long-armed, and when she did, she sent me this kind gift, and such a cute note. In the card, she says, "Thank you for giving me the confidence to learn to quilt. Your videos have given me the confidence to learn, knowing that imperfections are just part of the journey. They're always there." She said she just recently learned to sew and began making bags and totes and stuff, but her desire was to learn to quilt. And quilting has a profound connection in her past with her grandmother, great-grandmother, and she wanted to carry on that in her family. But I cannot believe, if she just started sewing and she began with bags, I'm flabbergasted. You have to see this. So this, and I didn't bring the other card with me. Look at this bag that she sent along. Oh my goodness. I don't know that I could ever attempt anything like this. So this can be worn as a crossbody bag. It can be worn as around your waist. It can be worn as a regular purse. Look at this. This is so cute. She has her little tag on here. It says Dazzy Designs, D-A-Z-Z-I. So if you want to look them up, pretty sure she has a shop. Look at the interior. Oh my goodness. It's got like almost a canvasy type interior. It's got a small zipper on the inside, and then the closure, you turn that and it closes it. There is even a zipper on the back. I love this, because then I can put my phone and things in a handy pocket and not have to dig in the front. And then look at the strap on there. Oh my goodness. I'm like, you just learned to sew? There is no way. I'm not a bag maker, not in the least. I never enjoyed making bags. I made a few, but I never enjoyed it. And look at this. Little key chain. I could hook my keys on there and then hook it on there. I am just, and look at that, fall colors. So pretty. Jennifer, thank you. This was like, I'm shocked. I am just shocked that I sew straight lines. I did work when my kids were little. I would make the girls. I didn't make the boys much stuff. Boys are harder and they're rough on stuff. But I would make the girls dresses because then they could pass them on down. You know, I made it once, and if it didn't fit the one I intended it for, hopefully it fit one of the others, you know, and you could pass it on down. And but I went on to quilting straight lines and follow a pattern that made sense to me. So I am in love. So Jennifer, thank you so much. That was very, very sweet of you. And then also in the mail this week, I did receive my Sew Sampler box. So how about we look into this? So this month is September 2024, and it says all the classics. They give a great coupon on the back and another pattern to use the pre-cut that is in the box. And oh my goodness, look at this. This is a Jolly Bar of Denim and Daisy by Fig Tree Quilts. And now a Jolly Bar is exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. It includes, and I have to look again, a Jolly Bar is 5 by 10, 5 by 5 by, I gotta think. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I was right. A 5 by 10 of whatever line it is. And then if you buy a Jolly Bar, you get not just the fabric, but you get a pattern to use along with it. So they have included this pattern. If you buy this, you will get this pattern that's included. So this is Summer Getaway Quilt. That's cute because it's kind of like almost a gingham type look to it. That's really cute. So that uses the Jolly Bar, which is the 5 by 10 inches. So one Jolly Bar is equal to 27 5 by 10 prints. So you could, do the same pattern. You could cut your own Jolly Bars if you wanted. I mean, obviously a layer cake cut in half would be a Jolly Bar. And so let me see if you needed, what extra fabrics you needed. Where does it tell me that? You need 1 1/8 background fabric, 1 yard of border, 2/3 yards block, sashing, and binding, and then obviously your backing fabric. So that's really cute. So let me show you the line. This is Joanna's new line, Denim and Daisies. Denim and Daisies. Yeah, I had it right. All right, so blues. Oh, pretty. Yes. Lots and lots of blues, very pretty. And then you throw in the orange. It's, I would say it's an orangey, it's not yellow. Daisies makes me think of yellow. It's not really a yellow. It's more of a peachy orange. And there's a lighter one. Cute. A little darker. Orange is getting a little darker. And then, ooh, I like that one. And then into the pumpkin-y rust colors. I really like that color. My favorites, I like those oranges, really. All right, so that is a Jolly Bar, and this is available, not exclusive to the box. You could get this Jolly Bar with that fabric. And then, but there's also a second pattern included in here. This is called Reflections Quilt Pattern, and this is exclusive to the box. So it uses that same Jolly Bar and then some other additional fabrics to make that cute quilt. This quilt would measure 51 by 66, where this one is a square one, measures 49 by 49. So 2 choices there, and using the Jolly Bar. So fun. All right, so all the classics is the theme. So they have included a 5.5 inch square ruler from Creative Grids. I use my Creative Grids. I have a 6 inch one that I use all the time. So very fun. You can never, you know, because the longer you use your rulers, you start clipping off some of the corners. They get a little dull, and it's always good to replace your rulers after a certain amount of time. And it does have the, if you're familiar with Creative Grids, they do have the grippy dots on the back, so that it's no slip. And also their grippy dots are very strategically placed on the ruler so that it's not covering up numbers that you need to see or things like that. Also, if you're unfamiliar with Creative Grids, the ruler, if you go one way, so you see here on my, I'm trying to think, on my left and across the top are your 1-inch markings. And then if you wanted to do half ones, you turn the ruler the other way, because then you can see your 1/2-inch lines a lot bigger. So like for those blocks I was doing for the hometown holiday, if I was cutting 1.5, it'd be much simpler to turn my ruler this way because my 1.5 one is marked. Or if I have it this way, it's doable, but you're just going to have to remember that that's the line, and this one's already marked for you in the halfways. So the whites are your solid white color. Your whites are your whole numbers, and then your black are your half lines. Okay, if that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. All right, so 5.5-inch ruler. Let me see what else we have. We have some Aurifil thread. Aurifil thread is another spectacular staple, so they're doing everything that like you need, the classic things. This is in a light sand color, and I will try to get this open. Light sand, I'd say, is almost like a creamy color. This is Aurifil. So Aurifil, light sand, that would work well. Again, you might have heard me say before, I like to keep these in my binding bag. They're nice little spools. The thread is really nice, and it does really well for doing bindings. So I like to keep those in my binding bag, because on my sewing machine I keep a large cone of Aurifil, and that's what I use for all my piecing. I don't change out my colors at all. And so these little spools are really nice just to keep in my binding bag. So that's where I put those. And let me see what else. Yeah, this was interesting. I've not figured this one out yet. So this is a hot ruler is what it says. Okay, so this is done by Clover, a mini hot ruler, 2 inches by 6 inches. It is a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive, your new iron's best friend. Use it to measure, mark, fold, and press all at once. Made of heat-resistant nylon, you can fold fabric over it and press directly on the ruler, making hems and French seams a cinch in home decor projects like pillows and curtains. Our favorite use for this little hot ruler is for pressing seams on quilt labels to top stitch into your favorite quilts. So if you were putting a quilt label on a quilt after you get it back from the Longarmer and you're wanting to put a label on the back, and so they say they're using this to then take that label. Let me open it up because I've not even done that yet. It feels like a very heavy cardstock, but it has the feel of almost like interfacing. So what you would do, I like the measurements on there too. So say you had your quilt label, you've got it upside down or right side to your mat, and you were wanting to fold over 1/4 inch on every side of that quilt label. So you'd have your quilt label face down, you would put this on there, and then you can measure over, you would fold over your quilt label right to the 1/4 inch line, and you'd be able to press that down. Interesting. I'm sure we could find lots of good uses for that. So only one comes in the little card. It's 2 inches by 6 inches, and it shows pressings, you know, directly with your iron onto that. So interesting tool. I'm sure we can find uses for that. So you'll want to grab one of those. I will link that down below. And then the last thing in the box is always the peaceful baskets. instructions, and let me show you the block for this month. This is block number 6. That means we're halfway through already. Oh my goodness. This one is Ohio Star. So do you see the Ohio Star peeking out of the top of the basket? So I will work on this one for next time so that I can show you. All right, that is the Sew Sampler Box. If you would like to receive a Sew Sampler Box in the mail for yourself, there may be some of these available a la carte. I will look, and if so, I'll link those down below, but they go fast, so you won't want to wait on that. If you would like to get a subscription, I will put a link down below so that you can get a subscription to the Sew Sampler Box. It does come once a month. It always includes a pre-cut, a pattern, whatever the current quilt along is, and then also lots of fun notions, you know, rulers or thread or just things you didn't know that you need, or didn't know you needed to try because it's something new, so you'll want to check that out. All right, it's time to move on to customer quilts. This is Lisa's quilt, and Lisa is a member in my Quilt Circle membership, and she did our quilt along for the first half of 2024, which was the Somerville quilt along. Somerville is a pattern put out by Camille Roskelley, and actually Camille has 4 patterns, one for each season. Same basic design, but she has changed up some of the motifs, or some of the blocks, so that each one kind of fits the season a little bit better. So this is the Somerville, and it is done in a medallion type. So you have the center and you build out from there. It's not rows. You are creating blocks, but you're really creating the quilt from the inside out. So the middle part is this large square or large star, and it consists of 4 squares, and then you have a complementary pattern in the same color to create the star points of each of those. Around that you have 9 patches, and to me these kind of look like the courtyards in front of the houses, kind of what it looks like to me. And then you have houses all the way around the block in the neighborhood. Square or stars just like the center one are then on each of the 4 corners in the same design, and then a border around the outside. The border is a pieced border around the edges, and different people did different ways, and it looks like Lisa did the called for border, where it was the easy corner triangles on the top and then 1 easy corner triangle, so it kind of zigzags around the quilt. The fabric line that she used is all Lila Boutique. This is Vanessa Gortson, and this line is called Country Rose, and so pretty. The blues and the pinks, very soft palette. The grays, the large florals are super pretty. For the backing fabric, she did choose a Splatter Dots. This is by Whistler Studios, and this is 108-inch wide backing. So the pinks on this one match the pinks on the front very, very nicely. For the Pantograph on this one, I sent Lisa some new choices, and I told her on quilts like this, I don't tend to like directional pantographs, meaning I don't want to use like a Baptist fan or something like that. You could, it's just personal preference. But this quilt is, you see it, you can look at it from any direction. And so a Baptist fan, obviously you're looking at from only one direction. And so I like to use a pantograph on this that kind of, it doesn't matter what direction you're looking at it. So she picked this one. This is called Mega Plus, and this is designed by Mindy of Quilting Together with Mindy. Now I met Mindy, we've probably known each other a couple years now. We met through the Longarm League. We're both Longarm quilters, and we met through our membership inside of the Longarm League. And then inside that organization, then we have smaller groups. If you want to be a part, we have smaller groups, and we call ours the Business Buddies, and that's how, let me scoot up here, and that's how I met Mindy, was through my smaller group. So if you've heard me talk about my Business Buddies in the past, Mindy is a part of that group. So just a small group of Longarm quilters inside of the larger group of Longarm quilters. of Longarm League, and it's just nice to have some others that are doing the same business that you are, and where you can ask for ideas, or how do I handle this, or what do you think about that? We just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. But Mindy, not only does she design pantographs, not only is she a Longarm quilter using her own pantographs, she is an amazing custom quilter. So if you need custom quilting done, you got to check out her website and her Instagram, because she is stellar. I mean, it's just amazing what she does with a quilt top. But then she also designs pantographs, which I'm thankful for. So this is her design called Mega Plus. And if you can think of a chunky plus sign, that's kind of what it looks like. This does stitch out in rows. So kind of looks like a flower, kind of looks like a big plus, kind of looks like a cloud. You know, it just big, puffy in the four, in a plus shape, but very chunky, and then it goes on to the next one all the way across. I did offset the row by half so that the row below it fits up inside of the row above it. So let me pull this in so you can see what I am talking about. Sometimes whites are tricky on camera, but you can see how it comes across here, and then where these two pluses join, then I offset the row by half so that the plus below it, the top of that plus, is fitting up into the arms of the row above it, if that makes sense. Used a white omni thread on this one. The backing fabric is white. The prints are more a bright, airy type of prints, and so a white thread looks really good on that. You can see one of the smaller stars down there at the bottom. Those are all in all the four corners, but they match the larger one that's in the middle of the courtyard. And I love the houses. The houses were so much fun. And I love how Lisa has done some solid white windows, and others has the polka dot and ginghams, and the ginghams for the door. She's got some florals for the windows there. It's just so fun to mix and match the fabrics in the line and get all of those. It was just a joy to do. So Lisa did a great job on her quilt. Lisa's second quilt is Edelweiss, and this is a Camille Roskelley pattern as well, from 2023. This fabric line that she used is Camille Roskelley. This is Shoreline, blues and greens, so pretty. So Edelweiss is laid out. You have kind of the X in the middle with the flowers, but then that leaves you kind of boxes. It's just a really fun pattern. When you get further away from it and look at it, very large flowers in the center and in all the corners, and then the leaf stalks, I guess you want to say, of the flowers in between each one, almost creating like four very large squares. The Shoreline fabric is just beautiful. You see me using it on my pieced pieced baskets quilt along that I'm doing with the Sew sampler box as well. So you have some straight lines, you have some polka dots, you have some florals. It's just a really pretty line. And the backing fabric is one of the 108 backings in that Shoreline fabric, the large floral. Very pretty, very classy. For the Pantograph, again, I sent Lisa lots of choices, and we were going with some new ones. I've done a lot of quilts for Lisa, and I don't like to repeat the same Pantograph unless the client just asks for that. I don't like to repeat the same Pantograph on two quilts for the same client. So I picked out some choices and sent them to her, and she chose this one. This is called Honey. So it's a hexagon shape or a honeycomb shape. This is done by Julie Hurt, and there's lots of hexagon patterns out there. I've done the diagonal hexes before, where it kind of echoes on itself a little bit. This one's a little different in that how it stitches is doing 3 I believe it was three hexes. So it comes down one side of the hexie, goes over, goes up the other side of the hexie, and then scoots over, and then comes down, and then your row above it. So it's almost like it's the negative space of one becomes the side of the hexie in the next one. It's kind of different that way. So my lines over here are creating, it's just so cool. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but let me pull it in and see if you can see that. So my lines coming down from this hexie then create the sides of the hexies on the other part. I did use, I should have wrote this down. Let me see if I did. I used a light gray thread on this one. That is so deceiving because I'm looking at this going, I think I used white, but why would I use white? I did not use white. I used a light gray, but that's how the light gray reads on dark fabrics. It looks like a lighter print. So that's why I wouldn't use white on here, because white would be so much brighter. So this is a light gray. And again, that's an Omni thread, and I will link that down below. And then light gray on the back as well. So pretty. Just a really nice quilt. This one measures 74 by 74, a nice square quilt. Lisa did a great job. I have two quilts by Sally, and Sally is a member of my Quilt Circle membership. And throughout the year of 2024, we have done a challenge each month. And the challenge this year, what I chose for the theme, is a pre-cut and panel challenge. So each month I give them a theme, and I also give them a certain pre-cut or a panel that I want them to use for that challenge. And then they're free to make whatever, whether it's a bag, whether it's a table runner, a wall hanging, or a quilt. And back in May, the challenge was to use a garden or floral themed panel. And so Sally chose this bee hive panel in the middle. Is this not darling? I love it. So it says be all you can be, and the bee is spelled B-E-E. And then it has beehive rules: be grateful, be positive, be fabulous, be thoughtful, believe, be inspired, be brave, be kind, be adventurous, be happy, be honest. This is so cute. And knowing Sally, that's all her. That just describes her to a T. She is always bubbly and positive, and just has a great spirit about her. I just love her to death. And so then around that beehive panel, she has then fussy cut other floral panels. I love these. They're like old time, I don't know, advertisements or something for each of the different flowers, like old seed catalog type like prints, and just so pretty. Each one is different. They're all probably about 10-inch squares, and then she's done some sashing in between horizontally and vertically, and then she's done this other border print. Oh, let me pull this up here. So this is a border that she has, she's pieced it together so it's not one long border. So this is a section right here, and this one says Hale's Honey is for sale by all druggists, Proper New York, Crinton, Proper New York. This one says Purchase Street, Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm trying to see where so this is one whole panel piece here. So cute. I love how she's done that, put that into borders, and then she has done some other black and white. Let me see. And those are pieced, so it's a skinny black one, and then this is a black on white. So this one is a white on black, this was a black on white, and then this is a white on a black. Skinny, medium, about the same on the outer edge. So cute. She did great for the panel challenge. Now, let me show you the back. And this is the back. So not only did she do a panel on the front, she pieced her backing so that she had a panel on the back as well. So this one has the honey or the beehive in the middle and has sunflowers all around it, some larger. So the panel is this part right here. She's added sunflower fabric on either edge, and then she has this cute bumblebee print all around the edge of that. She did make this, so I like how she did this because the panel's in the middle, and then she did extra fabric all the way around, and there was enough of that that then I could center the quilt top in the middle of this, and it was super easy. If she would have just given me a panel like this that was the exact same size as the front, I just can't do that. But when you add the extras around the edges and give me plenty of space, and then I can kind of center this backing, or I can center the backing, kind of tell where I need to start the quilt top. Because this is flipped over when I'm quilting. This is on the back side, but I can kind of mark the fabric on the backing to know, okay, I need to start, I need to drop down 10 inches before I start the quilt top in order to center this on the back. Or maybe I only, drop down 4 inches or something like that. I need at least 4 inches because between the head of my machine and the bars, you've got to have, that amount of space, because my machine cannot get all the way up to the edge of those bars. So I need a little bit of space, and I've got the red snappers that I use to load the quilt onto the long arm, and so that takes away some fabric too. So I just need those little extras, and I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to gyp anybody out of fabric, anything like that. It is I need that for the clearance of the machine and the head of the machine, the bars, the red snappers, all of that. So cute. I just love this. Now for our challenge, I do award a prize, but it's not for the prettiest, it's not for the largest, it's not for the most complicated. How I do a prize is anybody that enters a project in the challenge for that month, then their name just goes in a random drawing and they get a little gift in the mail. So that's how we run that. I haven't decided on 2025 yet what our challenge is going to be. It won't be the same thing. It won't be a pre-cut and panel challenge, but I'll pick something new for that one. So for the pantograph on this one, we went with spiral rings. And again, white is a hard one to show on camera. I don't know, it just washes it out. Didn't do this super small. Felt with just the context of the quilt, the largeness of the flowers, and she liked something circular, so it kind of felt like the bees were buzzing around. So with spiral rings, it spirals in, does a really, it creates a circle right here at the end of the spiral. So a perfect circle. It doesn't come to a point. It doesn't have like a chunky roundness right there. It creates a perfect circle, and then it spins back out, and then it does the same thing down below. Almost in a, because it's printing. It's stitching out this way, so it's almost like an S shape. So it comes in and does this one, spins out and does this one, comes up and does this one. So it's almost like in an S shape. Not that you can tell that, but when it's stitching out, that's what it looks like. For this one, this is a white thread. The bumblebee fabric on the back has a lot of white. This had a lot of white, just a brighter quilt. And even on the blacks, because there is so much white in the blacks, that a white fabric was, or white thread was fine for that one. And that is Omni thread from Superior Threads, and that is linked down below as well. Very cute. Let's go on to Sally's second quilt. Sally's second quilt is the Piece and Quilt Sampler from the book Celebrate with Quilts by Lisa Alexander and Susan Aki. This is a current quilt along with Fat Quarter Shop. I had one of these just a couple weeks ago, and I will pull out the links for that and link down below as well. That one was done all in Shoreline fabrics, is that correct? and Lisa had done that one, and she had added in some blush colors, and so I'll link that one down below if you're just finding this video because of the Piece and Quilt quilt and you want to see that one as well. I'll link that video down below. Total different colorway. I love this. Greens and pinks, and it's just darling. It reminds me of a garden. I don't know. And after Sally's last quilt, I know Sally lives on a farm. She loves her animals. She loves being outdoors, and that's just what this one reminds me of. It just makes me feel like you're in a floral garden. So Piece and Quilt and the book Celebrate with Quilts, it's a sampler. You're really doing all these different type of blocks, different sizes, different piecing, and then you're putting them all together in a modern type sampler. It's not necessarily set on a grid pattern like old time samplers, but no sashing in here. All the blocks are just side by side. So I love this block here. There's 4 of these. I'm not sure how well you can see, each in a different colorway. Love those blocks. I mean, there's just everything. Pinwheels, square and square, stars, just all different kinds, different sizes. And all of these are floral fabrics, small scale, most of them, in pinks, almost a melony type of pink. And then Sally has added several borders onto here. Let me pull this in. So Sally has added several borders, very large borders. So a pink polka dot one. This one is like old time cars, steering wheels in a cream color with like a burgundy print on top. And then the blush color around the edge. So this quilt measures 82 by 102. It's a nice size quilt. For the backing fabric, she chose this. It's almost like a Dutch or old German type of feel to it. The ladies all in their dresses. It's got barns and houses, and some sheep and little animals and all little motifs. So pretty. This one, it says the back is from, the back is a Dear Stella print, and the rest of the fabrics are all from her stash. She did do a green center panel all down the back, the middle of the back, and then this motif print, Dear Stella, is down both sides. So cute. So for the pantograph, we went with something delicate, something, you know, she's spiraled, because we have so many floral fabrics. I didn't want to do another floral print right on top of that, but felt it needed something dainty and delicate. So this is espresso, and did it in a cream color thread. So espresso, we've talked about many times. It has spirals. They flip back on themselves, so it looks like a ribbon type effect. A little paisley there, a little spiral there, but it gives it the whole ribbon effect because it's continuing to cross over. So if you are doing hand-guided work, you can create the same thing. So you saw spiral rings on her garden panel quilt, and that was just rings coming in and echoing themselves back out. The same muscle movement is doing an espresso pattern like this, but as you're coming out, you're crossing over a line, and then you're crossing back over a line, and it gives a ribbon effect, like that ribbon is flipping over on itself. So many variations. So once you learn just a simple spiral in, spiral out, then you can change that by how big you spiral out. Do you come to a point? Do you do a circle like that one was? Do you leave a chunky middle? These come to a point inside the spiral, but you could come in and then whip out a big circle. So all the same muscle movements. It's just different applications of it. And I hope you can see that pantograph. There you go. So pretty. I did forget to mention on Sally's quilt, let me just pull this. So I spread this out again real quick just because I wanted to mention these panels. I did have the selvage of some of these, maybe the backing one, but on the selvage it did say funsewing.com, and so I looked that up. Funsewing.com is a website. They have all kinds of panels. So if you're looking for a certain theme, and you can search for it by theme. So where this one is beehive, the back side was more of a sunflower, you can just go in and search by theme, and it comes up with all of these panels, or all of the panels that relate to that theme, and then some coordinating fabric as well. a whole line of sewing machine ones and cute sayings around sewing machines, so you'll want to check that out too. So those are Sally's 2 quilts, panel challenge, as well as the piece and quilt sampler, and she always does such a nice job. This is Jessica's quilt, and this is a pattern by Camille Roskelley called Threadbare, so it's all spools. It's so, so cute. I love it. Jessica has done a solid blue for all of the spool ends. For the background of each of the spools, she has used a white with just a very tiny gray polka dot print. So cute. So it reads as a white until you get in close. And then she said she's used scraps from her stash for all the spools. I just think it's adorable. And this could be made as large or as small as you want. So if you're only wanting a wall hanging for your sewing room, you could put 4 of these together and do that. If you're wanting to make an entire queen size quilt for your bed, you could do that as well, because it's however many spool blocks you want to make, or maybe however many scraps you have. Most of us could make mini quilts from just the scraps that we have. So I love this. It's so darling. You could do scrappy spools if you want. I do think it kind of coordinates it by keeping the spool ends all the same. You could alternate different color, 2 different color spools if you want. All different options with this pattern. It does have just a background as the border. I like that. It gives your eye a place to rest before going on to the binding, and so it's a border without appearing as a border. It really just gives your eye a rest before going on to the edge of the quilt. The backing fabric is Camille Roskelley prints. She has 3 panels or 3 sections. One, a different one down the middle, the same one down the side. All right, for the Pantograph, she chose Baptist Fan. I love this. And again, I think either you love Baptist Fan or you hate Baptist Fan, but I think this is classy on this quilt. It's so cute. I pulled it into Pro Stitcher and I leave it that size. It was a perfect size for this. Baptist Fan nest up into each other really well, creates perfect texture. It's just adorable. For the thread, I did use a white color thread. The background fabric here is a white color, so it does show up on the blue spools as you get in close, but I think it's just a classy design. It's just one of those that matches the feel of the quilt. It's just almost like an old general store or something. Kind of makes me think all those spools stacked up on top of each other. So Jessica has made her quilt 50 by 60, but like I said, you could make this as large or as small as you wanted. You could even just do 1 block and have them as little small pieces around your sewing room to tuck into shelves or things like that. It would be really cute. So that is Jessica's quilt. So this is Margaret's quilt, and she created this using one of Elizabeth Hartman's patterns. Have you seen Elizabeth Hartman's patterns? They are so darling. This is the dinosaur one, but Elizabeth Hartman has panda bears and robots and Halloween ones. What else have I seen? Llamas and gnomes and forest animals and so many. They're just absolutely darling. Margaret chose the dark background fabric, the black, so cute. And then she said she just pulled fabrics off of her local quilt store for all of the dinosaur prints. So she's done a very nice job of matching up colors. So like in the green dinosaurs here, she's got different colors of green. Not just one solid color. And these are I don't think any of these are solids. They're more of a mottled type of, not quite a grunge, but more of a mottled type of fabric. Some are polka dots, some are prints. She's done a nice job of coordinating colors, purples, blues, peaches, oranges, all the different colors. She's done a really nice job, really, really cute. She said this is for a 4-year-old, and I just think they're going to love this. She put a Minky backing on the back, and I don't know the exact color, but I will find it and link it down below. She did piece her backing, and that's fine. If the color you're wanting is only in the 60-inch width and you need to piece it, it worked fine. They do sell a 90-inch wide as well. And actually, I have ordered my first 2 bolts of Minky. I think I ordered white and sand. They should be here in the next couple days. So if you're not wanting to ship Minky to me, I'm going to start with those 2 colors, see how well it goes, and if clients are wanting to buy Minky directly from me, I'll have it on hand. And like I said, I'm going to start with those 2 colors. If there's other colors that I see, I just had to start somewhere, you know. So I've seen a lot of white. I've seen the sand. I love the sand color. Blues are another option, pinks are another option. So but there's so many out there, I can't stock them all. But if I know that there's certain ones that are more popular, then I may stock those as well. So give me your thoughts on that. And but I did order the 90-inch wide one so that I don't have to piece backings if at all possible. But it is possible. If you're buying Minky and all you can find is the 60-inch width, then you need more than that. You can piece Minky. I know sewing with Minky on your domestic machine has a lot of issues because, and if you think about it, on a domestic machine, you're moving your fabric. Okay, so if you're creating animals, or if you're creating, I don't know what else you create with Minky, but if you're doing this on your domestic machine, you're trying to move that slicky fabric, stretchy fabric, slicky fabric through your domestic machine, and that it gets difficult. I know there's certain hints, there's whole YouTube channels that you can go to and watch that kind of stuff. When you think about it on a long arm, the most difficult part is loading it. I like to load it with the selvages on my bars. I know others say to switch it the other way. I have done it the other way, and you're going to have to deal with the stretchy one way or the other. Either you're going to have to deal with the stretchy when you load it on your bars. If you have your cut edge there, you're going to have to deal with the stretchy, not stretching it too far, not leaving it too limp so that you have things. Or if you load the selvages on your bars, then you're going to have the stretchy down the side, and you're going to have to deal with it that way. It's going to be dealt with one way or the other. And I think try it both ways and see what your preference is. I have done it both ways. I have not had any difficulty either way. But I think in some ways using it on the long arm may be easier than even doing it on your domestic machine, because once I load it, I'm not moving that fabric except to roll it. But when I'm stitching, my machine is moving and not the fabric is moving. So don't be afraid to try Minky. I think people are scared away from more of the sewing with it for smaller projects than on a long arm. I think once you get it loaded, and just making sure, it's going to sag on the sides a little bit, but don't pull it too tight. Work with it, and I think you'll like the result. It's really, really fun. And another little hint that I have is I find that Minky sheds a lot less if you rotary cut it. So like when I took this one off, a lot of times when I'm taking a quilt off the long arm, I will use my scissors. I actually use my batting scissors, and I cut 3 or 4 inches outside the edge of the quilt, and just so I can get the extra fabric off, I fold that up and set that aside. That all gets sent back to the client, and what is left is where I need to just trim up the quilt. When I am doing Minky, I do not use my batting scissors to cut. I leave the entire amount that was left attached to the quilt. Then when I lay it out to trim up the quilt, I trim off the good fabric that's left with my rotary cutter. You're still going to get some because you can even see on this quilt there are a couple spots where I have some minky floating around. But I just find with scissors, it just, I mean, you just get that shredding everywhere. With a rotary cutter, it's a finer cut, and it just doesn't quite shed as much. But it still does a little bit. But just to calm down those threads a little bit, you might try using a rotary cutter and not your scissors. So for the Pantograph, Margaret chose diagonal plaid. This is the bias cut, so it's a small, it's a square and a square, but it has the rounded edges. And that's what it means by the bias cut. Love the texture on this. And again, our theme is carried in the quilt top. It's a dinosaur quilt. I don't necessarily have to put dinosaurs on the quilt. I think just adding a texture to it, letting the pattern and the fabrics and the minky shine, and then we're just adding a pattern that, I mean, in some ways, I guess you could say this looks like the, you know, the plates on the back of the Triceratops or something like that. I don't know, but just adding texture, I think it works really well. For the thread color, I did use a medium gray, and even on the black, you're going to see that medium gray some, but a light gray was going to read more as a white on here, so a medium gray, just to keep it so it wasn't too dark on these. But if you were just doing all blacks, you know, or even darker colors than these, you may even been able to go to a darker gray. I've never used black thread, not that I can think of. I've never used black. But I do have on hand a dark gray, but I use medium on this one. And that is an Omni thread, and I will link that down below. I did this fairly tight. I mean, my squares are probably 2-inch squares, I guess. I just felt for a little child's quilt, this is going to be handled a lot, it's going to be played with a lot. You have the softness and the from the minky, and so even though the quilting is a little denser, I think the minky on the back keeps it a soft, pliable quilt and just so cute. So this one measures, if I hadn't said already, 68 by 84. Nice size quilt. This will be able to grow with a little one for quite a while, and then they'll treasure it and take it off to home with them once they leave home. It's one of those that it'll be treasured for a good long time. So very nice, Margaret. You did a great job. And I hope you enjoyed those customer quilts. Those are so fun to work on. And if you are in need of long arm quilting services, you can check out my information down below. You can check out my website. I have been trying to add more pantographs, ones that you see on here that I'll say, oh, this is a new one. I'm trying to finally get those onto the website so that you can peruse those when you are filling out your order form. But you can download the long arm prep and order form instructions down below. And we are booking pretty far out. I'm pretty full up for Christmas, and I apologize for that. I only have so many hours in the day, and so we are booking all the way out to January right now. But if you want to get your quilt in, and we'll get it on the sheets so that it can be done the first of the year, that would be great. I will be back here next week with a new video because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.